Alright, welcome to a day in the basement. So today I'm going to be testing some lines out for abrasion strength. These are just the lines that I had. I was going to originally test all of them, but I didn't have enough line, so today we're just going to test the 20-pound mono and the 20-pound fluoro. The way I'm going to test it is while it's underwater. So I have a fairly simple system here where I'm just going to have like a pulley system with a weight that the line will be wrapped around, and then it will go underneath this sharpening stone on the coarse side while it's underwater, and then back up to the other side where I'll be able to pull it. I measured out approximately 12 inches, made a little mark with a black line, so that I pull it about 12 inches up and down every time. Over time, I started getting the hang of it, and I think I was roughly around that distance. The water in the bucket is room temperature, and it's fresh water. So the first line that I tested is going to be the 20-pound Blue Label fluorocarbon leader. Fluorocarbon is definitely more dense than monofilament. It has a thinner diameter, and I think this is where a lot of people think that it has more abrasive resistance. Some of the other qualities, though, include that it apparently refracts less light, so it's more invisible underwater. I don't find this to be as important, though. Seeing underwater video, I see that the fish are usually more spooked by the presentation and the bait itself. And now for the monofilament test, I used Ande monofilament 20-pound leader material. Mono is definitely softer material and not as dense. It actually floats. It does actually absorb water over time, so that's one thing to note. Fluorocarbon does not do that. And also it does degrade over time from UV exposure, so you do need to change it out more frequently than fluoro. Alright, so here we are with the underwater view, first with the fluorocarbon, and yes, I noticed something very interesting. There's definitely differences in the way that these lines rub up against the rock and the way that the material breaks off of itself. You'll see right there that the fluorocarbon pretty much just popped once it rubbed too much, but here with the mono, you see all the little particles essentially getting shaved off of the line, which makes sense since it's softer, that you would see a lot more smaller particles getting shaved off. Alright, so here again is the third test with the fluoro, and you're going to see again that as it rubs up against the stone, there's like string pieces of the material coming off. It's not flaky like the mono, it's more of a intact small string that comes off. So I'm going to speed this one up even faster because this just took so many times to go. This is actually going to take 68 times for the mono. I don't know why it took this long, but we'll talk about it later. So on this one with the fluoro, you'll notice the line is a little sideways there, and I'm not sure, but that it could have been the reason that this failed so quickly. So as you can see, this is definitely a test for the mono because of all the little particles. So this is test 5 for the fluoro, and again the same thing is happening. You're seeing the strings of filament get bunched up there as it's being rubbed up against a rock. I think it's just quite amazing how much particles can come off of the mono, yet it still holds relatively well. Seeing how the stone does just take away material after every pull does make you think that diameter is very important on the line. I mean, the more material you have, the better. This is going to be the 6th and final test for the mono, and it's just pretty amazing how much material is coming off of this line. But just to sort of have a control, I did test the 2 braids that I had. This was the 15-pound Power Pro Super Slick 8, and this was the 30-pound Suffix 832, and both took one crank and they both broke. Here's a zoom in picture of one of the fluorocarbons that failed, and as we were seeing underwater, you have all those little pieces of string that were coming off. And then contrasting it is the monofilament, and you can just tell how it gets shaved, and that piece right there is actually relatively flat. It actually got shaved so much that it almost becomes flat. And here's the final tally for all the results. Through the 6th test, we had an average of 34.5 for the mono and 18.5 for the fluoro. And so that's almost about 46% less abrasive strength for fluoro. As I was talking about before, though, I did remove the outliers where, for some reason, that mono just kept going and going, and the fluoro broke with only 4 turns, but I think maybe it was because the line was off-centered. When we look at the averages with those 2 removed, we still get 27.8 for the mono and 21.4 for the fluoro, which is about 33% less on the fluoro. And I'm using that term abrasive strength because I do think that there is actually some abrasive resistance in the fluoro, because as you can see, the mono just kind of deteriorated. It just, sent out a bunch of particles when it was touching it, and the fluoro didn't do that as much. With that being said, though, it didn't make the strength any better. So the monofilament integrity actually lasted longer despite that its material was less abrasive resistant and more of it was coming off. This is just confirming my suspicions that mono actually has better abrasion strength than fluoro. I had been a big proponent of fluoro when I used to fish in Florida, and it was really the only thing I used. However, now that I'm back in the Northeast and our water clarity is nowhere near the same, and we fish a lot more rockier structures, yeah, it's pretty much a no-brainer that mono is better and it's a lot cheaper as well.